Okay. This music is a little bit it is very tranquil to have in my ears while I stream. It's gonna be fine for ASMR, but okay, Lincoln. I see your deal. Sounds good. So today we are going to be reading not the Golden Bird, but we will be reading the Brothers Grimm fairy tale, and this is bright as shit. Wonder if I can. I don't think so. I do have my Firefox on dark mode, but it seems to still be blasting my retinas. I was just told that the people I was supposed to hang out with next week are in fact hanging out today. That's fucked up. So I gotta go. Oh, well, at least you're invited. Bye on. Glad I was here for the dating sim stream at least. Yeah, very, very good. Awesome. So I do want to let you guys kind of have a hand in picking the story that we're reading. We might be able to read like two, maybe three or something, depending on which ones we pick. But there is some very classic ones in here. There's Little Red Riding Hood, The Frog Prince, Rapunzel. Now these are all going to look a little bit different than the regular stories. If you've read Grimm fairy tales before or know what it is, you have a general idea of it. But and the Golden Goose. See what else? Catskin, Snow White, and Rose Red. So, what are we thinking? Because I'd taken a look at this and I was thinking maybe which one is it? I would like to read Hansel and Gretel. I've always really, really enjoyed that story, so maybe we start with that. Hansel and Gretel, where are you? I think it's at the top, actually. Where are you? There you are. Perfect. Not the longest one, not the shortest one, but are y'all ready? You got your pajamas on? Got your nice snacks and drinks. Just good old German bedtime story. It's so normal. I mean, Grimm fairy tales is a little bit more brutal than the regular kid stories, right? I agree. Start with that. Cool. Let's go. Okay. Hansel and Gretel. Hard by a great forest dwelt a poor woodcutter with his wife and two children. The boy was called Hansel and the girl Gretel. He had a little to bite and to break, and once when great dearth fell on the land, he could no longer procure even daily bread. Now when he thought over this by night in his bed, and tossed about in his anxiety, he groaned and said to his wife, "What is to become of us? How are we to feed our poor children when we no longer have anything even for ourselves?" "I'll tell you what, husband," answered the woman. "Early tomorrow morning we will take the children out to the forest, at where it is the thickest. There we will light a fire for them, and give each of them one more piece of bread, and then we will go to our work and leave them alone. They will not find their way home again, and we shall be rid of them." "No, wife," said the man, "I will not do that. How can I bear to leave my children alone in the forest? The wild animals would soon come and tear them to pieces." "Oh, you fool," said she, "then we must all four die of hunger. You may as well plane the planks for our coffins." And she left him no peace until he consented. "But I feel very sorry for the poor children all the same," said the man. The two children had also not been able to sleep for hunger, and had heard what their stepmother had said to their father. Gretel wept bitter tears, and said to Hansel, "Now all is over with us." "Be quiet, Gretel," said Hansel. "Do not distress yourself. I will soon find a way to help us." And when the old folks had fallen asleep, he got up, put on his little coat, opened the door below, and crept outside. The moon shone brightly, and the white pebbles which lay in front of the house glittered like real silver pennies. Hansel stooped and stuffed the little pocket of his coat with as many as he could get in. Then he went back and said to Gretel, "Be comforted, dear little sister, and sleep in peace. God will not forsake us." And he lay down again in his bed. When the day dawned, but before the sun had risen, the woman came and awoke the two children, saying, "Get up, you sluggards. We were going in the forest to fetch wood. She gave a little piece of bread and said, "There is something for your dinner, but do not eat it before then, for you will get nothing else." Gretel took the bread under her apron, as Hansel had the pebbles in his pocket, and they all set out together on the way to the forest. When they had walked a short time, Hansel stood still and peeked back at the house, and did so again and again. His father said, "Hansel, what are you looking at there and staying behind for? Pay attention and do not forget how to use your legs." "Ah, father," said Hansel, "I'm looking at my little white cat, which is sitting up on the roof. He wants to say goodbye to me." The wife said, "Fool, that is not your little cat, and that is the morning sun which is shining on the chimneys." Hansel, however, had not been looking back at the cat, but had been constantly throwing one of the white pebble stones out of his pocket on the road. When they had reached the middle of the forest, the father said, "Now, children, pile up some wood, and I will light a fire that you may not be cold." Hansel and Gretel gathered brushwood together as high as a little hill. The bushwood was lighted, and when the flames were burning very high, the woman said, "Now, children, lay yourselves down by the fire and rest. We will go into the forest and cut some wood. When we have done, we will come back and fetch you away." Hansel and Gretel sat by the fire, and when noon came, each ate a little piece of bread. As they heard the strokes of the wood axe, they believed that their father was near. It was not the axe, however, but a branch which had fastened to a withered tree, which the wind was blowing backwards and forwards. And as they had been sitting for such a long time, their eyes closed with fatigue, and they fell fast asleep. When they last awoke, it was already dark night. Gretel began to cry and said, "How are we going to get out of the forest now?" But Hansel comforted her and said, "Just wait a little, until the moon has risen, and we will soon find the way." And when the moon had risen, Hansel took his little sister by the hand and followed the pebbles which shone like newly coined silver pieces, and showed them the way. They walked the whole night, and by the break of day came once more to their father's house. They knocked at the door, and when the woman opened it and saw that it was Hansel and Gretel, she said, "You naughty children, why have you slept so long in the forest? We thought you were never coming back at all." The father, however, rejoiced, for it had cut him to the heart to leave them behind alone. Not long afterwards, there was once more great dearth throughout the land, and the children heard their mothers saying at night to their father, "Everything is eaten again. We have 1/2 loaf left, and that is the end. The children must go. We will take them farther into the woods, so that they will not find their way out again. There is no other means of saving ourselves." The man's heart was heavy, and he thought, "It would be better for you to share the last mouthful with your children." The woman, however, would listen to nothing he had to say, but scolded and reproached him. "He who says A must say B." Likewise, and as he has yielded the first time, he had to do so a second time also. The children, however, were still awake and had heard the conversation. When old folks were asleep, Hansel again got up and wanted to go out and pick up pebbles as he had done before, but the woman had locked the door, and Hansel could not get out. Nevertheless, he comforted his little sister and said, "Do not cry, Gretel. Go to sleep quietly. The good God will help us." Oh, got something on my contacts. Early in the morning came the woman and took the children out of their beds. Their piece of bread was given to them, but it was still smaller than the time before. On the way to the forest, Hansel crumbled it in his pocket and often stood still and threw a morsel on the ground. "Hansel, why do you stop and look round?" said the father. "Go on." "I am looking at my little pigeon which is sitting on the roof, and he wanted to say goodbye to me," answered Hansel. "Fool," said the woman, "that is not your little pigeon. That is the morning sun that is shining on the chimney." Hansel, however, little by little, threw all the crumbs on the path. The woman led the children still deeper into the forest, where they had never in their lives been before. Then a great fire was again made, and the mother said, "Just sit there, you children, and when you are tired you may sleep a little. We are going into the forest to cut wood, and in the evening when we are done, we will come and fetch you away." When it was noon, Gretel shared her piece of bread with Hansel, who had scattered his by the way. Then they fell asleep, and evening passed, but no one came to the poor children. They did not awake until it was dark night, and Hansel comforted his little sister and said, "Just wait, Gretel, until the moon rises, and we shall see the crumbs of bread which have been strewn about. They'll show us our way home again." When the moon came, they set out, but they found no crumbs, for the many thousands of birds which fly about in the woods and fields had picked them all up. Hansel said to Gretel, we shall soon find the way. But they did not find it. They walked the whole night and the next day too, from the morning till evening. But they did not get out of the forest and were very hungry, for they had nothing to eat but 2 or 3 berries which grew on the ground. And as they were so weary that their legs could carry them no longer, they lay down beneath a tree and fell asleep. It was now 3 mornings since they had left their father's house. They began to walk again, but they always came deeper into the forest. And if help did not come soon, they must die of hunger and weariness. When it was midday, they saw a beautiful snow-white bird sitting on a bough, which sang so delightfully that they stood still and listened to it. When its song was over, it spread its wings and flew away before them, and they followed it until they reached a little house, on the roof of which it alighted. And when they approached the little house, they saw it was built of bread and covered with cakes, but that the windows were of clear sugar. "We will set to work on that," said Hansel, "and have a good meal. I'll eat a bit of the roof, and you, Gretel, can eat some of the window. It will taste sweet." Hansel reached up above and broke off a little bit of the roof to try how it tasted, and Gretel leant up against the window and nibbled at the panes. Then a soft voice cried from the parlor, "Nibble, nibble, gnaw, who is nibbling at my little house?" The children answered, the wind, the heaven-born wind," and went on eating without disturbing themselves. Hansel, who liked the taste of the roof, tore down a great piece of it, and Gretel pushed out the whole of the one round window pane, sat down, and enjoyed herself with it. Suddenly, the door opened, and a woman as old as the hills, who supported herself on crutches, came creeping out. Hansel and Gretel were so terribly frightened that they let fall what they had in their hands. The old woman, however, nodded her head and said, "Oh, you dear children, who has brought you here? Do come in and stay with me. No harm shall happen to you." She took them both by the hand and led them into our little house. The good food was set before them, milk and pancakes with sugar, apples, and nuts. Afterwards, 2 pretty little beds were covered with clean white linen, and Hansel and Gretel lay down in them and thought they were in heaven. The old woman had only pretended to be so kind. She was in reality a wicked witch, who lay in wait for the children and had only built the little house of bread in order to entice them there. When a child fell into her power, she killed it, cooked it, and ate it, and that was a feast day with her. Witches have red eyes and cannot see far, but they have keen scent like the beasts, and are aware when human beings draw near. When Hansel and Gretel came into her neighborhood, she laughed with malice and said mockingly, "I have them. They shall not escape me again." Early in the morning, before the children were awake, she was already up. And when she saw both of them sleeping and looking so pretty with their plump and rosy cheeks, she muttered to herself, "That will be a dainty mouthful." And she seized Hansel with her shriveled hand, carried him to the little stable, and locked him behind a grated door. Scream as he might, it would not help him. Then she went to Gretel, shook her till she awoke, and cried, "Get up, lazy thing, fetch some water and cook something good for your brother. He's in the stable outside and is made to be fat. When he is fat, I will eat him." Gretel began to weep bitterly, but it was all in vain, for she was forced to do what the wicked witch commanded. And now the best food was cooked for poor Hansel, but Gretel got nothing but crab shells. Every morning the woman crept to the little stable and cried, "Hansel, stretch out your fingers that I may feel if you will soon be fat." Hansel, however, stretched out a little bone to her, and the old woman, who had dim eyes, could not see it, and thought it was Hansel's finger, and was astonished that there was no way of fattening him. When 4 weeks had gone by and Hansel still remained thin, she was seized with impatience and would not wait any longer. Now then, Gretel, she cried to the girl, stir yourself and bring some water. Let Hansel be fat or lean. Tomorrow I will kill him and cook him. And how the poor little sister did lament when she had to fetch the water, and how her tears flow down her cheeks. Dear God, do help us, she cried. If the wild beasts in the forest had but devoured us, we should at any rate have died together. Just keep your noise to yourself, said the old woman. It won't help you at all. Early in the morning, Gretel had to go out and hang up the cauldron with the water and light the fire. We will bake first, said the old woman. I have already heated the oven and kneaded the dough. She pushed poor Gretel out of the oven from which the flames of the fire were already darting. Creep in, said the witch, and see if it's properly heated so we can put the bread in. And once Gretel was inside, she intended to shut the oven and let her bake in it, and then she would eat her, too. But Gretel saw what she had in mind and said, I do not know how I am to do it. How do I get in? Silly goose, said the old woman. The door is big enough. Just look. I can get in myself. And she crept in and thrust her head into the oven. Then Gretel gave her a push and drove her far into it, shut the iron door and fastened the bolt. Oh! Then she began to howl quite horribly, but Gretel ran away and the godless witch was miserably burnt to death. Gretel, however, ran like the lightning to Hansel, opened his little stable and cried, Hansel, we're saved! The old witch is dead! And then Hansel sprung like a bird from its cage when the doors opened. How they did rejoice and embrace each other and dance about and kiss! And they had no longer any need to fear her. They went into the witch's house, and in every corner stood chests full of pearls and jewels. These are far better than pebbles, said Hansel, and thrust into his pocket whatever he could be got in. And Gretel said, I too will take something home with me, and filled her pinafore full. But now we must be off, said Hansel, that we may get out of the witch's forest. When they had walked for 2 hours, they came to a great stretch of water. We cannot cross, said Hansel. I see no footplank and no bridge, and there is no ferry, answered Gretel. But a white duck is swimming there. If I ask her, she will help us. Then she cried, little duck, dost thou see? Hansel and Gretel are waiting for thee. And there's never a plank or a bridge in sight. Take us across on thy back so white. The duck came to them, and Hansel seated himself on his back and told his sister to sit by him. No, replied Gretel, that will be too heavy for the little duck. She shall take us across one after the other. The good little duck did so, and when they were once safely across and had walked for a short time, the forest seemed to have been more and more familiar to them, and at length they saw from afar their father's house. Then they began to rush into the parlor, and threw themselves round their father's neck. The man had not known one happy hour since he had left the children in the forest. The woman, however, was dead. Gretel emptied her pinafore until pearls and precious stones ran about the room, and Hansel threw one handful after another out of his pocket to add to them. Then all anxiety was at an end, and they lived together in perfect happiness. My tale is done. There runs a mouse. Whoever catches it may make himself a big fur cap out of it. Nice. That was really, really good. I enjoyed that. The 12 Dancing Princesses. There it is. Okay. It's a good suggestion. Let's do it. Oh, internet, how you vexed me. Do it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it live. Okay. The 12 Dancing Princesses. There was a king who had 12 beautiful daughters. They slept in 12 beds, all in one room. And when they went to bed, the doors were shut and locked up. But every morning their shoes were found to be quite worn through, as if they had danced in all night, and yet nobody could find how it happened or where they had been. Then the king made it all known to the land, that if any person could discover the secret and find out where it was that the princesses danced into the night. He should have he should have the one he liked best for his wife, and should be king after his death. But whoever tried and did not succeed, after 3 days and nights should be put to death. A king's son soon came. He was well entertained, and in the evening was taken to the chamber next to the one where the princesses lay in their 12 beds. There he was to sit and watch where they went to dance, and in order that nothing might pass without his hearing it, the door of his chamber was left open. But the king's son soon fell asleep, and when he awoke in the morning, he found that the princesses had all been dancing, for the soles of their shoes were full of holes. The same thing happened the second and third night, so the king ordered his head to be cut off. After him came several others, but they had all the same luck, and all lost their lives in the same manner. Now it chanced that an old soldier who had been wounded in battle and could fight no longer, passed through the country where this king reigned, and he was traveling through a wood. And as he was traveling through the wood, he met an old woman who asked him where he was going. "I hardly know where I'm going or what I had better do," said the soldier, "but I think I should very well to find out where the princesses dance, and then in time I might be king." "Well," said the old dame, "that is no very hard task. Only take care not to drink any of the wine which one of the princesses will bring you in the evening, and as soon as she leaves, you pretend to be fast asleep." And then she gave him a cloak and said, "As soon as you put that on, you will become invisible, and then you will be able to follow the princesses wherever they go." Whenever the soldier heard all this good counsel, he determined to try his luck, so he went to the king and said he was willing to undertake the task. He was as well received as the others had been, and the king ordered fine royal robes to be given to him, and when the evening came, was led to the outer chamber. Just as he was going to lie down, the eldest of the princesses brought him a cup of wine, but the soldier threw it away secretly, taking care not to drink a drop. And then he laid himself down on his bed, and in a little while he began to snore very loud, as if he was fast asleep. When the 12 princesses heard this, they laughed heartily, and the eldest said, "This fellow, too, might have done the wiser thing than lose his life in this way." Then they rose up and opened their drawers and boxes and took out all their fine clothes and dressed themselves at the glass and skipped about as if they were eager to begin dancing. But the youngest said, "I don't know how it is. While you're so happy, I feel very uneasy. I'm sure some mischance will befall us." "You simpleton," said the eldest, "you're always afraid. Have you forgotten how many kings' sons we had already watched in vain? And as far as this soldier, even if I had not given him his sleeping draught, he would have slept soundly enough." When they were all ready, they went and looked at the soldier, but he snored on and did not stir a hand or foot, so they thought they were quite safe. And the eldest went up to her own bed and clapped her hands, and the bed sank to the floor, and a trap door flew open. The soldier saw them going down through the trap door, one after another, and the eldest leading the way, and thinking he had no time to lose. He jumped up, put on the cloak which the old woman had given him, and followed them. But in the middle of the stairs, he trod on on the gown of one of the youngest princesses, and she cried out to her sisters, "All is not right. Someone took hold of my gown." "You silly creature," said the eldest, "it is nothing but a nail in the wood." And then down they all went, and at the bottom they found themselves in a most delightful grove of trees, and the leaves were all of silver and glittered and sparkled beautifully. The soldier wished to take away some token of the place, so he broke off a little branch, and there came a loud noise from the tree. Then the youngest daughter said, "I'm sure not all is right, and did you not hear that noise? That's never happened before." But the eldest said, "It's only our princes who are shouting for joy at our approach." Then they came to another grove of trees, where all the leaves were of gold, and afterwards to a third, where the leaves were all glittering diamonds. And the soldier broke a branch from each, and every time there was a loud noise, which made the youngest sister tremble with fear. But the eldest still said, It was only the princes who were crying for joy. So they went on till they came to a great lake, and at the side of the lake there lay 12 little boats with 12 handsome princes in them, who seemed to be waiting there for their princesses. One of the princesses went into each boat, and the soldier stepped in the same boat with the youngest. As they were rowing over the lake, the prince who was in the boat with the youngest princess and the soldier said, "I do not know why it is, but though I am rowing with all my might, we do not get on as fast as usual, and I'm quite tired. The boat seems very heavy today." "It is only the heat of the weather," said the princess. "I feel it very warm too." On the other side of the lake stood a fine illuminated castle, from which came the merry music of horns and trumpets. Where they landed and went into the castle, and each prince danced with his princess, and the soldier, who was all the time invisible, danced with them too. And when any of the princesses had a cup of wine sat by her, he drank it all up, so that when she put the cup to her mouth it was empty. At this too, the youngest sister was terribly frightened, but the eldest always silenced her. They danced on till 3 o'clock in the morning, and then all their shoes were worn out, so that they were obliged to leave off. The princess rowed them back again over the lake, but this time the soldier placed himself in the boat with the eldest princess, and on the opposite shore they took leave of each other, the princesses promising to come again the next night. When they came to the stairs, the soldier ran on before the princesses and laid himself down. As the 12 sisters slowly came up, very much tired, they heard him snoring in his bed. So they said, "Now all is safe." Then they undressed themselves, put away their fine clothes, pulled off their shoes, and went into bed. In the morning, the soldier said nothing about what had happened, but determined to see more of this strange adventure, and went again the second and third night. And everything happened just as before. The princesses danced each time till their shoes were worn to pieces, and then returned home. However, on the third night, the soldier carried away one of the golden cups as a token of where he had been. As soon as the time came when he was to declare the secret, he was taken before the king with the 3 branches and the golden cup, and the 12 princesses stood listening behind the door to hear what he would say. And when the king asked him, "Where do my 12 daughters dance at night?" he answered, "With 12 princes in a castle underground." And then he told the king all that had happened, and showed him the 3 branches and the golden cup which he had brought with him. Then the king called for the princesses and asked them whether what the soldier was true, and what they saw when they saw that they were discovered, and that it was of no use to deny what had happened. They confessed it all. And the king asked the soldier which of them he would choose for his wife. And he answered, "I'm not very young, so I'll have the eldest." And they were married that very day, and the soldier was chosen to be the king's heir.